and welcome to the online platform of the civils. Good morning, Iram, and good morning to all of you, those who are joining us. So join us as soon as possible so that I can start my class. Very good morning, Sonali. And we were discussing the constitutional history of India. Okay. Good morning, Salma. And so far we have completed till Charter Act 1833. Okay. Very good morning, Gokul. So join us as soon as possible. Virendra Singh, very good morning. So, in the previous 2 or 3 lecture, we have discussed about the constitutional development of India during British rule or during company rule till 1833. We have already completed. Okay. Now, I am going to discuss today. The first topic will be the Charter Act 1853. Okay. The Charter Act. The Charter Act 1853. Okay, this was the last act passed by Parliament before the revolt of 1857, or we can say that this was the last act passed by Parliament. Okay, for East India Company that was ruling India at that time. Okay. And after that, the entire administration of India was transferred to the transfer in the hand of Crown. Okay. So this is the last Charter Act. Okay. And the last act which was passed by British Parliament for East India Company. Okay. Or during the regime of East India Company ruling India. Okay. Now, what were the main provision? Okay, the first provision of this Charter Act was, this act did not, it's a very important point, did not extended the charter of East India Company for any specific period. Okay, for any specific period, this is the most important provision of this Charter Act, specific period, because we have seen from the Charter Act 1813 that Charter Act 1813, 33, 1793 also. Okay. In that, the first provision was the Charter Act 1793 or 1813 or 1833 extended, okay, the trade monopoly rights for the next 20 years. Okay, that was the first provision of 1793, 1813 and 1833. But this Charter Act clearly mentioned that the Parliament is not going to extend the Charter of East India Company. That means trade privilege, the privileges the company was getting. Okay. Instead, it said that, the Indian territory, this line is very important. Okay, the Indian territories would remain in trust, in Crown trust. Instead, it said that Indian territories would remain in trust for the Crown, trust for the Crown until the Parliament, the British Parliament, okay, the British Parliament should otherwise direct. Okay, so this was one of the most important provision. Okay, direct. Okay, so the first provision was this Charter Act did not extended, because we have seen in the Charter Act of 1793, 1813 and 1833, in all these Charter Acts there was a provision of extension of the Charter of East India Company for the next 20 years. Okay, but this charter ended that provision. Okay, means did not extended the charter, okay, the privileges the company had. Okay, so thus it was clear that Crown could take over. Thus it was clear that Crown would take the Crown would take the administration of India, the administration of India anytime. Okay, administration of India anytime. India anytime from the East India Company. So this was the most important provision. Okay, we have seen that in the Charter of 1793, 1833 and 1833 there was extension of the charter. Okay, but this was ended by the Charter Act 1833 and clearly said that the Indian territory would remain in trust for the Crown, and trust for the Crown means the Crown would take this administration of India in their own hand anytime, okay, from the East India Company. Okay, so this was the most important provision of 1853. That means what? After the passage of this act, the future of East India Company was very, very, very uncertain, because by these acts the company's charter was extended for 20 years. So for 20 years their future was safe. But in this Charter Act there was no any extension of the charter. So the future of, by this act proved that the future of East India Company in India is very, very, very dark. Okay, now, so this is the first point. Very good morning to all of you, those who are joining. Now, the second provision. The second provision was the separation of executive and legislation. The separation of legislature and executive. The separation of legislature and executive was carried a step further. So this is also the most important provision. Okay, the separation of, because this was the first charter that focused on the separation between legislature and the executive. Okay, this is also very important. Okay, now we all know one law member was added by the Charter Act of 1833, but that was not a permanent member, okay, in the Governor General Council, okay. But by this act, the governor, the law member was made by this act, the law member. Who was the first law member? I want answer from all of you. Who was the first law member in Governor General Council? I want answer from all of you. Good morning to all of you, those who are joining. Sahzad, Ashu, Anjali, Sarli, Oscar, Sabnam. Very good. Lord Macaulay was the first law member, and he was also the first president of Law Commission, which was appointed, which was set up. The first Law Commission was set up under the Charter Act of 1833, and the purpose of that Law Commission was codification of all the legislation made in India. Okay, so by this act, the law member was made full member. Law member was made full member of Governor General Council. This is also very important. Okay, by this act, the law member was made full member. This is also very important point. All these points are very important. Okay, because by this Charter Act, the first time the word separation was clearly mentioned. Okay, now fourth important point was of this Charter Act was the Central Legislative Council, or the All India Legislative Council. All India Legislative Council or Central Legislative Council was created. Okay, Central Legislative Council was formed. Okay, Central Legislative Council or All India Legislative Council was formed with 12 members. Okay, and we all know what is the main purpose of Legislative Council: to make law. Okay, so for All India Legislative Council, for the law, to make law for entire India, a Central Legislative Council was formed, means Parliament was formed. Okay, was formed with 12 members. Okay, 12 members were Governor General Council, Governor General, and its council, plus 6 members. So Governor General and its council. Now I want answer from all of you. By which act Governor General and its council was formed? I want answer from all of you. By which act Governor General Council was formed? Tell me, by which act? I want answer from all of you. By which act Governor General and its council was formed? And when it was formed, how many members were in there? I want answer from all of you. By which act? No. Saris? Wrong. Wrong. Sefali Gandhi, first of all, I want answer. By which act the Governor General and Council was formed? Very good, Virendra Singh. By the Act of Regulating Act of 1773, which had 4 members: Philip Francis, Clavering, Montserrat, and Warwell. Okay? Yes. By Regulating Act. Okay? So, the first time Central Legislative Council was formed with 12 members. Okay? And the 12 members were Governor General and its Council. Okay? And plus 6 other members. Okay? And this Legislative Council was responsible, given power to make law for entire India. That means what? Central Legislative Council means, we can say that the parliamentary process, the establishment of parliament in India. Okay? Is it clear? Now, the next important point is, second, clear distinction was made. Clear distinction was made between Legislative Council and Executive Council. This is very important line. Clear distinction was made between Legislative Council and Executive Council. Legislative Council means Governor General Council and plus 6 member. Okay, so 12 member was in Legislative Council, and Executive Council was only Governor General and its Council. So execution of law was in the hand of Governor General and its Council, and the legislative power was in the hand of Governor General and its Council plus 6 other members. So clear distinction was made between Legislative Council and Executive Council. This is also very important point. Okay? Now, the next important point was the board of directors. Okay? We all know there was a board of directors, and the board of directors were in Britain, and there were 24 members in board of directors by Regulating Act. Okay? And they were appointed for 4 years. We all know about that. But by this act, the number was reduced from 24 to 18. Okay? So by this act, the number of board of directors was reduced from 24 to 18, and out of 18, 6 members of board of directors were appointed by Crown. Okay? So out of 18, 6 members would be appointed by Crown. So this is also one of the most important provision of the Charter Act. Okay? And the last and the most important, one of the most important was that by this act, Charter Act, competitive examination was started in India. Okay? Competitive examination. By 1833, okay, what we have got, the Indian got right to enter in civil service. Okay, and fitness was the main criteria. Fitness was the main criteria. Eligibility, criteria of eligibility. Fitness means those who are fit would get the service. Okay, fitness means what? Examination. Okay, so by this act, competitive examination was started for civil service. Okay, competitive examination. This was the most important. This is, by this act, competitive examination was started in India, and it is clearly mentioned there would be no discrimination on the basis of caste, creed, religion, place of birth, okay, in this service. So these are the provision of Charter Act 1853, and this was the last act passed by the British Parliament before 1857. Okay, I hope it is clear to all of you. Is it clear? I want answer from all of you. Is it clear? So they remember one thing, competitive examination was started for the first time in India by the Charter Act 1853, and this examination was started for civil services, and this act clearly mentioned there would be no discrimination in civil services. Okay, and a committee was set up in 1854 to enforce this scheme. Okay, in 1854 a committee was formed under Lord Macaulay to enforce the system of competitive examination, okay, to make path. Okay, so a committee was formed which was headed by Lord Macaulay in 1854 to enforce the provision of competitive examination, okay, in civil services. So this was the Charter Act 1853. Okay, now, so we have completed all the Charter Acts, or the acts which was passed by British Parliament during the East India Company rule. Okay, now the next was the Government of India Act 1858. Okay, now in the first class of the constitutional development of India, we have divided the constitutional development under two headings. The first heading was under the constitutional development under East India Company, and the second part was the constitutional development under Crown rule. Okay, now I am going to discuss about the constitutional development under Crown rule in India. The constitutional development in India, the topic is the constitutional development. The constitutional development in India during Crown rule. Okay, we all know in 1857 what happened? The Sepoy revolt took place. And after this revolt, okay, Government of India Act was passed. Government of India Act was passed in 1858. Okay, and the purpose of this act was to end the rule of East India Company. Okay, so after this revolt of Sepoy revolt of 1857, okay, Great Revolt of India, what happened? The company rule ended, and in place of company rule, the rule of Crown was started, and for this an act was passed from British Parliament, okay, which was known as Government of India Act. Okay, now so the first act was the Government of India Act. Okay, Government of India Act 1858. Okay, this act is also known as an act of better government. Okay, an act for better government in India. This line is also very important. Okay, this line is also very important. Okay, tell me, which act is also known as St. Helena Act? I want answer from all of you. Priya, sir, Lord Macaulay was added in 1853 or 1833. Look, in 1833, a member was added in the Governor General Council, and that member was law member. Okay, and the first law member was Lord Macaulay. Okay, in 1833 only. Okay, and we all know this Orientalist and Anglicist controversy, in which year it was took place? Tell me. Priya, I want answer from all of you. In which period, what was Orientalist and Anglicist controversy, and who solved this problem? Okay, Priya, look, Lord Macaulay was added as law member in Governor General Council by the Charter Act 1833. But in 1854, when competitive examination was started, a committee was formed which was headed by Lord Macaulay, and the purpose of that committee was to enforce the decision taken by the Charter Act 1853, which was related to competitive examination. I hope it is clear. Okay, I will talk, Sefali, I will talk to sir. Okay, now Priya, is it clear? I want answer from Priya. Is it clear in which year he was added? Lord Macaulay joined the Governor General Council as a law member by Charter Act of 1833. Is it clear? And he was also the first president of Law Commission, and Law Commission was formed by the Charter Act of 1833. Is it okay? Priya, Sahini, I want answer from you. Is it okay? Now, so Government of India Act 1858, this act is also known as an act for better government. Okay. Now, what was the provision of this act? Okay. Now, I want answer from Priya. Is it okay? Now, the Government of India Act, this was the first act passed by British Parliament after revolt of 1857, and this act is also known as an act for better government in India. And I have asked, which act was known as St. Helena Act? I want answer from all of you. Which act is known as St. Helena Act? Saresh, you are wrong. Now, 1833 Act is known as St. Helena Act because St. Helena Island was merged with, was the administration of Helena Island was transferred in the hand of Crown from East India Company. That's why the Act of 1833 is known as St. Helena Act. Now, the Government of India Act 1858. Okay, this act is also known as an Act for Better Government. Okay, now what were the provision of this act? The first provision was this act ended the rule of East India Company or the administration of East India Company. Okay, abolished the East India Company and ended its rule. Ended the East India Company and its rule from India. Okay, this act ended the East India Company. Entire East India Company was abolished. Okay, this act abolished East India Company and its rule from India, and the entire administration of India was transferred to, okay, the British Crown. Transferred to the British Crown. Okay, to the British Crown. So what happened? This act abolished, ended East India Company and its rule from India, and the entire administration of India was transferred to the British Crown. This was the first and most important provision of the Government of India Act 1858. Okay, now the second provision was the Governor General of India was made the Governor General of India was made the Viceroy of India. Viceroy means representative of Crown. Okay, representative of Crown. So the Governor General of India was now to be called Viceroy, or we can say that the Governor of India was made Viceroy of India, or the Governor General of India was now called as Viceroy of India. And Viceroy, the meaning of Viceroy is representative of Crown. So now, since Viceroy was the representative of Crown, so the power and position of Viceroy increased tremendously by this act. Okay? Sir, but you have said 1813. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I will confirm. So, the Governor General of India was made, but that was not related to India, but I will see what I have said. The Governor General of India was to be called, okay, was now to be called as Viceroy or Crown Representative. Okay, so this was also the most, and as a Viceroy, the power and position, both the power and position of Viceroy increased tremendously. Okay, now tell me one thing, by which act dual government was started in India? By which act dual government was started in India? I want answer from all of you. By which act the dual government was started in India? I want answer from all of you. By which act the dual government was started in India? Virendra Singh, wrong. By which act dual government was started in India? Turn your page. By the, yes, Pitt's India Act by 1784. Okay, by, no, Parveen Kaushal, not regulating act. Sefali, you are right, it was the Pitt's India Act. Okay, by the Pitt's India Act of 1784, the Court of Directors and the Board of Control, okay, a new institution, Board of Control, was established. Okay, now in 1784 there were two institutions, Board of Directors and Board of Control. These were the two institutions. Board of Control was the new institution, was created by the Act of 1784. The Board of Directors had all the commercial rights or power was in the hand of Board of Directors, but administration was under Board of Control. This system was known as the dual government system. Okay, this system was abolished by the Government of India Act 1858. Okay, this system which was established in 1784. Okay, this is very important. The Board of Directors and the Board of Directors were responsible behind the commercial administration. Okay, and the Board of Control, which has 6 members. Okay, now go through the Pitt's India Act 1784. Okay, so Pitt's India Act 1784, by this act Board of Control was formed with 6 members. Okay, and the civil and military administration was in the hand of Board of Control, and Board of Directors had a control over commercial administration of East India Company. Okay, this system was known as dual government system. Okay, in which it was started in 1784 and continued till 1858. In 1858, Government of India Act was passed. Okay, and by this act, this system was abolished. Okay, this is also very important point. Now, the next was a Secretary of State for India. A post was created, a Secretary for State. Okay, a Secretary of State for India. This post was created in Britain. Okay, for the administration of India. Okay, and the post was given to the cabinet minister. Okay, and Stanley was Edward Henry Stanley. He was the first Secretary of State for India. Henry Edward Stanley. He was the first Secretary of State for India. So a new post was created, a Secretary of State for India, and this was created for the administration of India. But this post was not created in India, it was created in Britain. Okay, so a Secretary of State for India post was created, and the first Secretary of State of India was Henry Edward Stanley. Okay, to assist Secretary of State to execute his function, a 15 members Indian Council was also formed. Indian Council. India Council was to assist Secretary of State. A 15-member India Council was also formed. Okay, and entire administration of India was in the hand of the Secretary of State and its council. Okay, 8 members were nominated by Crown. Out of 15 members, 8 members were nominated by Crown and 7 members were from the Board of Directors, was elected from the Board of Directors. So this was the combination, this was the ratio. Okay, so a new post was created for the administration of India. Okay, a Secretary of State, and this Secretary of State for India, and this post was reserved for the cabinet ministers. Okay, cabinet minister only. Okay, and Secretary of State with 15-member council, India Council. Okay, these Secretary of States and India Council govern India in the name of, they were responsible behind the administration of India in the name of Crown. Okay, so this was the other most important provision of, okay, provision of the Government of India Act 1858. Okay, so remember one thing, this act ended East India Company, abolished East India Company and its rule in India, and apart from that, by this act, Indian administration was transferred to the Crown, transfer in the hand of Crown. Okay, the Governor General of India became Viceroy of India by this act. Okay, and as a Viceroy of India, he was considered as the representative of Crown. Since he was the representative of Crown, okay, the power and prestige, the power position in India, the power and position of Viceroy in India has increased tremendously. Okay, apart from that, a new system was created. Okay, first of all, the dual government system, Board of Directors and Board of Director and Board of Control, Court of Directors and Board of Control. Okay, the Board of Directors and Court of Directors and Board of Control. This system was abolished. Court of Directors or Board of Directors or the Board of Control, okay, which were ruling India from the 1784. Okay, this system was abolished. Okay, in place of this dual government, a Secretary of State for India post was created in Britain. Okay, and this post was reserved for the cabinet minister. Okay, and to assist, and he was given all the responsibility to govern India. To assist Secretary of State for India, a council was formed called India Council, which had 15 members. Out of 15 members, 8 members were nominated by Crown and 7 from the nominated by the board of directors. Okay, and this India House under Secretary of State was responsible behind the administration of India in behalf of Crown. Okay, so this was the provision of Government of India Act, which is also known as an act for better governance in India. Okay, I hope it is clear. I hope it is clear to all of you. Now, the next is the Council Act or the Indian Council Act 1861. Okay, Indian Council Act 1861. This is also very important. Okay, Indian Council Act. Indian Council Act 1861. Okay. Now, what were the provision of this act? Okay. The first provision was, by this act, the Governor General Council, the Council of Governor General, okay, was enlarged by addition of 5th member. Okay, and that member was jurist, means legal officer. Okay, and that member was to be jurist, and 5th member was, okay. So by this act, the Council of Governor General or the Governor General Council was enlarged by addition of 5th member. Okay, and that member was to be jurist. Okay, means from the field of law. Okay, now the second most important, this act also enlarged the Central Legislative Council, enlarged the Central Legislative Council by the addition of not less than 6 members and not more than 12 members. Okay, so for the purpose of legislation, this act enlarged the Central Legislative Council, okay, by the addition of, enlarged the Central Legislative Council by the addition of not less than 6 members and not more than 12 members in the council. Okay, and the purpose was to make laws for India. Okay, the members were appointed by, okay, or nominated by the members, the additional members were to be nominated by Governor General. Okay, the additional member were to be nominated by Governor General for Maximum 2 years. Maximum 2 years. This is also very important. And half of the member would be from would be non-official member. Okay, and half of them were to be non-officials. Okay, non-officials means not belongs to civil services. Okay, so the first point was this act enlarged the Council of Governor General by addition of a new member, and the new member was to be jurist, means from the legal sphere. Second, for the legislation, it also enlarged the Central Legislative Council, because we all know Central Legislative Council was formed by the Act of 1853 and it has formed with 12 members. Okay, but by this act the Legislative Council was enlarged by addition of not less than 6 members and not more than 12 members. And this act also clearly mentioned that the additional member would be appointed by Governor General for not more than 2 years, for maximum 2 years. And it also clearly mentioned that half of the new member would be non-officials, means not from the civil services, okay, or any other government, civil and military services. Okay, and this was the first time three Indian members were also included in the Central Legislative Council. There was a provision for appointment of 3 Indian members in Central Legislative Council. Okay, but it was totally on Governor General to appoint or not. Okay, so this was also the most important provision of Indian Council Act. Now the third was, we all know, by the Act of 1833, Centralization of Legislation. Centralization of legislation, which was the main feature of which act? Now I want answer from all of you. Centralization of legislation. This was the feature of which Charter Act? I want answer from all of you because this is very important. This point is very important. Tell me by which act centralization of legislation begins in India? I want answer from all of you. By which act this centralization of legislation, the practice of centralization of legislation started? I want answer from all of you. By which act the practice of centralization of legislation started in India? Okay, tell me by which act this was started? Look here, centralization of legislation was started by the Charter Act 1833. Before this act, the Bombay Presidency and Calcutta Presidency and Madras Presidency all has their own power to make laws. But by this act, the power was taken by Governor General and its Council. Okay? But by this act, by Indian Council Act 1861, okay, decentralization of legislation started. Decentralization of legislation. Okay, and by this decentralization of legislation, the Calcutta, the Bombay, and the Madras Presidency, okay, were allowed to make their own legislation or law. So this act, Indian Council Act, restored the legislation power of restored the legislation power of Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras Presidency. Okay, restored the legislation power, because by the Act of 1833, the legislative power of Bombay and Madras Presidency was taken by the Governor General and its Council. So centralization of legislation was the main feature of the Charter Act 1833, and this system was abolished by the Act of 1861. Okay, and this act restored the legislative power of Bombay and Madras Presidency. Very good, Saris. Okay, now next important point was, by this act, a state council was also formed. Okay, provincial council was formed. Provincial council was formed. Okay, the first provincial council was formed in Bengal in 1862. The first provincial council was formed in Bengal in 1862. Then it was formed in Northwest Frontier Province, now in Balochistan. This was formed in 1886. And later it was formed in Punjab and Burma in 1897. Punjab plus Burma, now called Myanmar, in 1897. So this act also, by this act, provincial council was formed. Means there was a central legislative council for entire India, and for provincial council was formed, and the first provincial council was formed in Bengal in 1862, then Northwestern Frontier Province in 1866, and later on in Punjab and Burma in 1897. Okay, now the next point was, the Viceroy of India was empowered to issue ordinance. We all know Article 123 is related to the ordinance of President. Okay, so the first time, okay, this Indian Council Act empowered Viceroy of India to issue ordinance, and this ordinance we have borrowed this ordinance power of President, Article 123, we all know about that. Okay, and this ordinance is for a maximum period of 6 months. This ordinance was a maximum period of 6 months. Okay, we all know about what is ordinance. Okay, now apart from that, this Indian Council Act was also responsible behind the beginning of portfolio system in India. Portfolio system. Okay, this system was, this Indian Council Act was also responsible behind the beginning of portfolio system or cabinet system. Cabinet system, because for the ease of administration, Lord Canning, okay, Lord Canning, he was the viceroy at that time. Lord Canning distributed the entire administration to his ministers, and this was the beginning of cabinet system, ministry system. Okay, so these 2 points are very important. Okay, the ordinance power, Viceroy of India or Governor General of India got the power to issue ordinance. Okay, the power to issue ordinance by this act, and apart from that, portfolio system means for the ease of administration, just like agriculture ministry, okay, defense ministry. So this ministry system was started by this act, and this act also empowered the viceroy to distribute the function of administration in the hand of ministers, and this was followed by Lord Canning, and he started portfolio system or cabinet system. Okay, so the portfolio, he divided the work among the member of councils. Okay, divided the work in various department, like for agriculture work, agriculture department, for defense work, defense department. Okay, and this was the beginning of the cabinet system in India. Okay, so this all were the main provisions of the Indian Council Act 1861. Okay, so today I am going to wind this class here only. Tomorrow we will discuss the other act, like the Council Act 1892, then 1909, 1919 and 1995, 35. Okay, till then, goodbye and take care.